All right, welcome. Today I'm going to be walking you through one of the first pieces I ever officially composed. Something that wasn't composed just because I was in college or even in my high school, even middle school days. There were always little ditties that I'd kind of come up with, but never really did much with. This piece right here is the first thing that came out after the car accident. After my car accident, I had lots of extremities and issues that needed time to heal, and I had a massive, most likely concussion, I have no idea. So I would get dizzy very easily, couldn't pay attention to stuff very much, and it was really difficult. Obviously I couldn't play, I had a broken teeth, if nothing else, on my trombone, and so I was just kind of sitting around the house, and this was while I was trying to figure out, what I could do with the rest of my life here, because it was very possible that music was no longer something that was going to be a part of my life. I had an iPad, and I just got the idea one day that, well, what if I could try and compose, because maybe I can't play anymore, maybe I can't do any of this stuff, but maybe I'll still be able to participate in the music world through compositions, being able to write music. And so I started, I found this app, and I'm still using the same app I bought many years ago. It was $15 at the time, which, for apps, that's kind of expensive, but it's been an amazing tool. It just is off the cuff thing that I just was like, oh wow, this has worked out really well for me. And so I started sitting down at the piano, and you'll find this piece, it's kind of minimalistic, and that was kind of the idea with it. I knew what I was feeling at the time, and I knew how I wanted to express it, kind of, in some respects. And I've always been inspired by just how much can be said with so little. And this is one of those pieces. And so the name of this is Tidal. And no, it's not a play on words like title and title. That's something that, I'm not above doing, but definitely was not the idea in my head. This was really just the waves of emotion would wash over me. Some days, it would be a lot, and some days it would be something that I could manage. And so I found that the way and what I had written here in this piece really, really reflected those emotions, just this utter devastation of loss through one careless act, pretty much, that has still completely changed my life in ways that I'm still figuring out within itself. So we start off with this piece here. My original intention, and this was in my early days of composing, and I've still never taken any lessons, so my composing probably does not necessarily stack up to other people that have gone. Anyways, I had this intention. I wanted to really just oscillate between two chords, a C major chord and an E minor chord, which the only difference between these chords is one note. We have a C, E, and G, and we have a B, E, and G. Okay? So the top two notes stay the same, and the bottom note, the C or the B, is the only thing that changes between the two chords here. And that's how I get a lot of this song here. So no matter what I'm doing, the chords that I pick here, at least for this very first half and the last half of this piece, they are just a difference of one note between the two chords that I pick. So like I was trying to say, I thought I would be able to write this entire piece between just these two notes. That's not how it turned out, but let's see how this one starts out. So it just kind of keeps building here. As you can see with this right hand, a lot going on. It's very minimal, especially in the left hand too. All right, so that gets us through the very first half there. We're still between a C chord and a E minor chord there. I just keep building, and this is something that is kind of a quote from Beethoven. I always feel like Beethoven sets a little theme, and then he just builds off of it and extrapolates and what can happen with this melody and just changing small things with it. So there's some inspiration from that composer as well. Now another thing that bedraggles me, if you will, with piano writing or just writing in general. I mean, I'm a trombone player, right? I want more melody in the lower notes, in the left hand. I want to be able to show off that there are other sounds that can be made. And so that's actually the next thing I did here, is that I threw the melody right into the left hand. And that's just, it's not something that's super common or something that you do right away, or especially if it's the first piece that you've composed. Normally it doesn't go very well if you have these, major intentions in your head so early on. It's usually a disaster. This I didn't find to be too much of a disaster, partly because this is such a minimal piece. The lower notes can speak and take assertion without being buried by the sparkleness, if you will, from the higher notes. Usually the higher notes demand our attention more, which is why we usually just throw the melody up there. There's more reasons than that, but don't worry about that. All right, here we continue on with the left hand. Really just helps the somber mood in this. And now actually, sorry, it was right here in the middle. I already forgot. So in the middle of this left hand motive here, I did start changing chords. I went from an F chord to an A minor chord, which the only difference between that is F and E. Down here, so you can hear this new color on top of the fact that we have this somber melody in the left hand. So that was right where I was talking earlier. So I'll just play a little bit of that left hand, and I won't talk this time as the chords change. And yet again, I'm changing chords. Now I'm going from a B flat chord to a D minor chord. And the only difference between them is the B flat and the A. Okay? The melody still stays in the left hand here, and this gets a little bit harder. This can get muddy sometimes if I'm not careful. As you can see, I'm 40 measures in, and I've totally given up being able to only play, these two chords with at least what I had to say. I thought with the intentions that I had in this piece, it was going really well, and the meaning was getting made. Way more important than start with something and it has to stay that way. So I try and stay open with how my pieces work. Even you all the time, so many of my pieces, like I'm like, oh, what if I could continue this all throughout the piece? so rare that that happens. It's only really happened once or twice where I've actually been able to pull something off like that without it affecting the entire piece, or the piece just changing before my eyes and hands and ears. All right, so right here, I mean, the chords continue to change, but there's usually tons of similarity between them, and just this somber, reflective, and emotionally charged first half here. So I'm just going to finish off this section. I don't think there's too much more I have to say about this. Hope here. Yeah, so I guess this is another thing that I will mention. And what I really love about this piece, just emotionally, you can hear so many of the things that I'm battling just early on after this car accident and the future of my life at 24 years old. So you can hear this hope that immediately switches to despair, that switches to longing, that switches to, I mean, there's just so many emotions that you can find within these minimalistic chords, and, you know, this not flashy melody or anything like that. There's just so much that you can read between the lines. You know, one of my favorite pieces to actually listen to just over and over. There's so much you can hear inside of it. So yeah, I'll finish off this section here. Determination. All right, so I knew how dark this piece was in many respects, and although this was my first piece that I was writing, you know, I knew other people would hear it, including family members. So although I didn't probably necessarily believe it at the time, I wanted to add a section that there can be hope, there can be light, there can be life after this. So sometimes declaring things before you even believe them, just saying, I will get better, I will improve, I will defeat this, whatever the case is, that is basically what's happening here at this next section, because at the time I wrote this, definitely wasn't looking good in a lot of respects. So this next section is just reflecting on that there will be life after this, and it will be meaningful, and it will be good. So here's this whole next section. I change keys here. There isn't much that happens in terms of chords. It's just a D major chord, a G major chord, and then the A7. Really typical chord progression. Nothing special. But the right hand, this is something, this is my first piece I wrote, right? You'll see me do this in almost every piece ever, especially on piano. Here's the melody. Here's more notes, here's more notes, here's more notes. It just keeps, the chords just keep filling out. There's more, you know, sounds, more colors that I add to it. I don't change anything about the melody. It's like I restate the melody over and over and over, but there's just more that I add to it. So here's the middle section. to the original where we started. One of the coolest things that shocked me is that I wanted to go back to the original key that I wrote in, the C and the E minor, and I couldn't do it. I had to change notes, and so I switched between an F major chord to a C major chord, and then it goes to a B flat, to a D minor, and A major. And then we have this really cool ending that I'll talk about at the ending. It's one of my favorite things I've ever done, and of course it was in the first piece that I ever wrote. So here we are. We're coming back to reality is how I like to describe this section. I state what I expect to get to, and it's time to check back in. Hey, here's where we're at, and here's the things that have to happen. So welcome back. This ending here is just an explosion of sound, an explosion of emotion. Again, this was mostly entirely written out shortly after the car accident. This last section here, I think I had the idea down from the get-go, but I didn't know what to do or how to do it. And so these last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 measures, 5 chords, that I just roll all the way up and down the piano. I don't even know what you call this. I don't write it out. This is basically a improv section on a D minor chord, a B flat major chord, an F major chord, to an A major chord here, and then back to the D minor chord. That's how this piece ends. That's the chord progression. What happens here is it's really my musical statement of, will I overcome this, or will I be defeated by this one action, one choice, and so yeah, that's where I left this piece. Very raw, very real, and yeah. So this is that last section here. Just an amazing moment, at least for me to play. I hope it comes off that way to my audience members that listen to it. It's one of my favorite things I've ever done. So, all right. All right, well, my computer just shut off. That was recording that last little section there. So if you want to hear the full thing, you'll have to listen to a recording of it. You can find it on my website or even on YouTube somewhere. I've done it in one of the previous online concerts as well. So take a listen to it in full without me talking, and let me know what you hear. Thanks for watching.